greater than negative x minus 2. What's my first step? What is my first step? You have it written down in front of you. What's my first step to graphing an inequality? What does it say? Yeah, we're going to replace the inequality with an equal sign. So I'm going to replace the greater than with an equal sign. So it's going to become y equals negative x minus 2. Okay. And then this is going to tell me how to graph the boundary line. Is this written in standard form or slope-intercept form? Slope-intercept form. So what two things can I pull from slope-intercept form? The y-intercept and the slope. What's my slope? What is it? There you go, negative 1. Remember, there's that invisible 1 right in front of the x. Okay, and what's my y-intercept? Negative 2. It's going to be this number right here. Everyone following along? Yeah? Okay. So now I know my slope. I know my y-intercept. What do I need to do next to graph this line? I think it says it there under for inequalities / equations written in slope-intercept form. We found our slope, found our y-intercept. What comes next? What does it say? Find the slope, find the y-intercept, and then what's the third bullet say? Graph the y-intercept, graph the y-intercept. My y-intercept is at negative 2. That means on the y-axis, I go down to negative 2, right? This is our starting point. The y-intercept is the starting point. And then we use our slope to draw the rest of the line. My slope is negative 1. Remember, slope is rise over run. Down 1 over 1, right? My rise is negative 1. My run is 1. So I go from my y-intercept, I go down 1 over 1. Down 1 over 1. Down 1 over 1. Down 1 over 1. And I'm just going to make those dots all the way across the graph. Now, do I need to use a solid line or a dotted line? Yeah, dotted. Why? Yeah, it is a strict inequality. Yeah, it's just the greater than. It's not greater than or equal to, it's just greater than. So that means I have to use a dashed line. So I come in here and I draw that dashed line. Okay, this is my boundary line. But remember, the solution of an inequality isn't just a line, it's going to be half of the graph. So it's either going to be down here in the bottom half of the graph or this top half. Yeah? And what we do is we need to pick a point that's not on the boundary, and decide if it's true or false. So let's pick a point not on this line. Means I'm going to choose this one because it's easy. 0, 0, right? The origin. It's clearly not on this line, right? And I know the points for it. I'm not going to choose, I can't choose anything on the line, like I couldn't choose -2, 0. And I also wouldn't want to choose like, I don't know, 4.2 and 1.7, because I don't want to use decimals. I want to use easy numbers. I want this to be easy for me, right? Work smarter, not harder. So let's choose 0, 0, our origin. That's 0, 0. So 0 is my x, 0 is my y. And then I take those numbers, I'll write it over here too, 0, 0, and I plug it in to my original equation, or my original inequality. Y is greater than -x minus 2. And I'm going to check to see if this is correct. Okay, so I plug in 0 for y, that would give me 0, greater than -0 minus 2. And again, I'm checking to see, is that true? Is that true? 0 is greater than -0 is just the same thing as 0. Is 0 greater than 0 minus 2? Yeah, that is true. Okay. So let's be aware of that. And then let's just try another point. Let's try a point down here on this side. So I'm going to choose this point right here. That's at -2, -2. And again, I'm going to do the exact same thing, -2, -2. I'm going to plug that in to my original equation. Y is greater than -x minus 2. And I'm going to check to see if this point works in this inequality. So -2, I plug in for y. So -2 greater than -2. You see why there's two negatives there? Yes? Yeah? Okay, good. Minus 2. So I'm checking to see, is this true? Is -2 greater than, when I have that negative times that negative, that becomes positive, so that's 2 minus 2. Is -2 greater than 2 minus 2? No, that's not true. Because 2 minus 2 is 0, right? -2 is not greater than 0, it's less than 0. So this is false. So that means that down here, if I plug it in any of these points down here, something similar would happen, where I would get a not true, I would get a false inequality. If I chose any point up here, same thing is going to happen. I'm going to get a true inequality. So that tells me that this whole side, that's my solution. That's the solution to the inequality. So what I do to show that is I shade in this whole top half. You can color it in if you want. I usually just use these. I just draw lines like this. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay, let's do this next one. So my first step is I'm going to replace the inequality with an equal sign. Actually, I'm going to let you guys do number 2. Let's look at number 3. Let's look at number 3. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do, again, is replace the inequality with an equal sign. So that gives me 2x plus 5y equals 15. Now, is this written in standard form or slope-intercept form? Standard form. What does it tell you to do when it's in standard form? Yeah, we're going to rewrite it so it's in slope-intercept form. This is just an alternative way of graphing something in standard form. What's the other way that we've been using to graph something in standard form? What have we been doing? Think back to the con practice. We've been doing the graphing, solving systems with graphing, or graphing from linear standard form. What did you guys do?
Put the zeros, right?
To find what? What two things do we find?
X-intercept and Y.
Yes, yeah, good. So you could do that, but I'm going to show you just this other way of rewriting it so it's in slope-intercept form. Okay, so if it's in slope-intercept form, that means I need it to look like this. Oops. It's going to look like this. Y equals mx plus b. That means I need to get y all by itself. What's over here on this left side of the equal sign? What's over there that's like standing in the way of y being by itself? 2x, yes. And what else?
Being multiplied by 5.
And it's being multiplied by 5. Good. What do we have to deal with first? The 2x or the 5? The 2x, yeah. We have to subtract that 2x. Let's get rid of it. And then that means we have to subtract 2x from this side. 2x minus 2x, that makes 0. So I'm left with 5y equals 15 minus 2x. Okay, now what do I have to do next to get y all by itself? Yeah, divide by 5. So I divide this side by 5. Okay, and I can write this two different ways. I can divide the whole thing by 5, or I could write it like this instead. So I could do it like this, or you can split it up. Divide by 5, divide by 5. Okay, same thing. Okay, so over here, these 5's cancel out to be 1, and I'm left with 1, y equals, what's 15 divided by 5? 3 minus, okay, so I have this 2x over 5. 2x over 5. This can be written so it looks a little bit more like this, right? How do I write that? Good. So that equals 2 over 5x. So minus 2 over 5x. And then let's just rearrange it so it's back in proper slope-intercept form, where the mx comes first and then the b comes next. So I'll rewrite it. Y equals negative 2 over 5x plus 3. You see where I got that plus from? Yeah, because the 3 is positive. So in here, what's my slope? Negative 2 over 5. Not x, just negative 2 over 5. And what's my y-intercept? 3. What do I need to do next? Now that I identified my slope and my y-intercept, what do I do? Graph my y-intercept. So on my y-axis, I find 3. And now my slope is negative 2 over 5. So what's my rise? Negative 2. What's my run? 5. So that means from my y-intercept, that's my starting point, I count down 1, 2, and then over to the right, always going to the right, count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and I could go this way as well just to make it a little more clear. So if I'm going this way, now I got to go up 2 over 5. Okay. And now this time, do I use a solid line or a dotted line? Solid, because it's greater than or equal to. Use a solid line. Ooh, that was pretty good actually that time. Okay, and don't forget your arrowheads on either end. And now what's my next step? Yeah, yeah. So what should my first point be? What do you think? Someone tell me a point to use. 2 and 5? Up here? Cool. 2, 5. So let's plug that in to our original inequality. 2 is going to go in place of x, 5 in place of y. So 2 times 2 plus 5 times 5. I'm checking to see, is that greater than 15? Greater than or equal to 15? 2 times 2 is 4 plus 5 times 5 is 25. Is that greater than or equal to 15? 4 plus 25? Yeah, that's greater than or equal to 15. So technically at this point, we know this top half is our solution. I only chose 2 points just to kind of prove the point that 1 is going to be false, 1 is going to be true. So whenever whatever point you pick, if it's false, then you shade the other side. If it's true, then you shade that side. Is that clear? Okay. You could pick 2 points and just double check yourself. I tend to doubt my arithmetic skills, so I choose 2 points just to try it over again, just to be totally sure. But you can just pick 1. That's fine. Okay? So that means since this was true, that means I can shade that top half. And so my solution is this line and everything above it. Okay? Any questions? So how about you guys work on number 2 and number 4? Try and get those done. I'll come around and answer questions. Number 4, I want you to remember. I wonder if I could. No, I don't know what that is. So whenever we have something like x equals some number, that's the number sign, right? X equals some number, it's going to either be a vertical or a horizontal line. Which one is it? So if I have an equation and it looks like this, x equals some number, like x equals 6 or x equals 4 or whatever, it's always going to be, it's either going to be a vertical line or a horizontal line. Which one is it? Yeah, so it's a vertical line. It's a vertical line. Whereas if we have y equals some number, that's always a horizontal line. Yeah. What was it? Box. I think that's, I saw like a little memory thing for that. Bucks or oi. So this is vertical line, has an undefined slope, and the equation starts with x. Horizontal lines have a 0 slope and they start with y. It's kind of off the point, but okay. So this is going to look like a vertical line. And then this one's in slope-intercept form. So you guys should be able to do these too. All right, let's take 5 minutes or so to try and get those done. All right, we're going to take a look at the next page now. So flip over to the back page. Don't worry, you'll get a lot more practice with this. These are not copied very well, but that's okay. So now we're going to go from graph to inequality. Graph to inequality. Okay, so we need to practice writing our, it's going to be like the equation for this line. I'm going to need to practice writing that given a graph. So if I want to write something in slope-intercept form, what two things do I need to know? Yeah, the slope and the y-intercept. Okay, so for this example, where is my y-intercept? No? Where does it cross the y-axis? At 1. So b is going to be equal to 1. And now let's count out our slope. So if I start here at the y-intercept, and I want to try and get to this point here, I'm going to need to go down 1, 2, over 1. So my change in y, my rise would be -2. My run would be 1. So my slope is -2 over 1, or just -2. Then all I need to do is y equals m. So remember, y equals mx plus b. But m is negative 2, so y equals negative 2x. And b is 1 plus 1. There's my equation. And now I need to determine, should this be, what kind of inequality to use? Less than, greater than, less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to? Is this a solid line or a dashed line? Solid, so I know it can't be one of those. It's got to be this or this. Okay. So now let's choose a point down here in the shaded area. What's the coordinates of this point that I just put a dot at? What's the coordinates? Yeah, negative 1, negative 1. Good. So I'm going to test this. I want this to be true, right? This is my shaded area. This is what I want to be true. So I'm going to plug this in, plug negative 1 in for y, negative 1 in for x, but I'm going to skip the equal sign. So I'm going to have negative 1 and then blank, and then negative 2 times negative 1 plus 1. So negative 1, let's draw like a box so we know we're going to fill it in. Negative 1, something. Negative 2 times negative 1, that's 2 plus 1. So is negative 1 greater than or less than 2 plus 1? Less than. So this is going to be less than or equal to. Yes? So y, so my final inequality would be y is less than or equal to negative 2x plus 1. Okay, so we've got 15 minutes left in class. I know I wanted to go over more examples, but I'd rather have you guys start practicing. Okay, so there are some Khan Academy assignments. Let's go through them.